Welcome back. You're watching Morning Live. Thank you for choosing to stay with us. It's the second and last day of the Cosatu Special National Congress. Affiliates of the Federation convened at Gallagher Convention Centre in Midrand yesterday. SABC News journalist Yolisa Njamela was there and she's covering the story for us on the ground. Yolisa, good morning. Let's get into it. It was a tough day yesterday. Give us your sense of how the Congress went on the first day.
Well, Sam, it's a good morning, even though many of us are really exhausted. You remember that the comrades, the unionists, left very late yesterday. The main issue that they were hogging on was the credentials. The unions that are sympathetic to expelled Zwelinzima Vavi and NUMSA wanted to ensure that the second president of Cosatu, Zingiswa Losi, was not part of this Congress. They also wanted to make sure that the newest member of the Federation, Cosatu, Limusa, which is the Metal Workers Union, is also not part of the Congress. Their main complaint is that Limusa, the processes rather were flouted to ensure that Limusa is part of the Congress, to replace NUMSA, which was of course expelled, and it's one of the issues here whether NUMSA as well and Vavi are part of the agenda that will be discussed here. The case of Zingiswa Losi is that she was part of NUMSA, she was a shop steward of NUMSA, and when she parted ways with NUMSA, she remained as part of the national office bearers as the second deputy president of Cosatu. Now they're saying that that is against the regulations, that is against the Federation's constitution. She would later emerge as the shop steward of Pop Crew. So more than 10 hours, deliberations around these issues. But one of the crucial issues that we picked up yesterday is that they ensured that the media was chucked out of this hall where the deliberations were taking place. And this is one of the crucial aspects of any Congress where credentials are discussed, and basically they barred the media and shut it out. And we were not part of those discussions, or at least we didn't witness those discussions. So we got many of the bits and pieces of information from the delegates themselves. But later on, Cosatu President Dumo Dlamini went out to brief the media and explained a bit what had happened here earlier on. But credentials ultimately were adopted. The unions that are sympathetic to Vavi and NUMSA were overwhelmingly defeated, and many of them left sheepishly this hall. They left and basically were frustrated, and we're going to see today how they're going to approach this Congress, Sam.
Yolisa, one of the big things yesterday, and you've already touched on the NUMSA issue, throughout the course of yesterday, we heard Carl Klute talk about that very incident where the media was thrown out of the proceedings around the credentials. But let's talk about the theme. The overall theme was social cohesion and unity. Did the first day live up to that? Did you get a sense that there was a more unified approach at the end of the first day of the Special Congress?
Absolutely not, Sam. From the very onset, from very early yesterday morning, when the delegates came in and singing and pushing through their messages through song, you could hear that some of them are singing pro-Vavi songs, some of them were singing pro-Dumo Dlamini songs. So you could, again, the reflection of what is happening within the Workers' Federation, the disunity. So while we have cohesion and unity as the theme here, it seems like it's not played out as it should be. You'll remember, of course, that the one thing they all want, including the tripartite alliance partners, they want unity moving forward. But critics are saying, especially labor and political analysts are saying, there can be no unity, of course, if, for instance, they expelled one of the largest unions, being NUMSA. And so when these discussions are moving forward, many of the workers who are supposed to form part of the Federation are on the outside. But again, you mentioned Carl Klute, a Deputy General Secretary of NUMSA. Their critics are saying they're just clutching at straws, because now they're just discussing the issue of media having been chucked out instead of dealing with their issues, because, of course, they've been wanting to to be part of this Congress. But the other faction are saying, well, we know they just wanted sympathy from workers so that when they're seen as having done everything possible, then they can just form their own federation, Sam.
Yolisa, one of the other big things, of course, yesterday we heard the analysts say that maybe in retrospect, chucking out NUMSA out of the federation wasn't a great idea. It would have been better to deal with the organization inside the structures. What is the sentiment around those kind of issues that your analysts yesterday touched on? Also, we heard the former NUM president saying that NUMSA needs to be back in this federation. Without it, it's not a working structure. What are some of the guys on the ground talking around what the way forward is? I know today is the second day. In a couple, you can also just mention what we're expecting today. But what is the word on the ground around those issues?
Well, many delegates are really frustrated, but it's interesting that you're going to mention James Mutlatsi, who is the former NUM president, because about a month ago when the NUM actually held their Congress in Boksburg, he was speaking a different language to the delegates. They're criticizing NUMSA rather quite a bit. So it was interesting. It was an interesting turnaround yesterday when we spoke to him, and he articulated those views that you cannot afford to keep out some 350,000 workers because you disagree with what they have done, instead of keeping them inside. But of course, you'll remember that NUMSA was not just chucked out. There was a long process which culminated into a special Congress that they held as well, whereby they took certain decisions that included that they will not campaign for the ANC, even though they're part of the tripartite alliance. But they also decided that they're going to poach within other unions, which is going beyond their scope. And this is against the federation's rules or the constitution. So there was a long process before NUMSA was chucked out. However, as you rightly mentioned, the delegates on the ground are mainly interested in how they can unify and find cohesion within this federation. But from today, we're interested in the robust debates. What we know, though, is that on the agenda is unity, cohesion, and leadership, Sam.
Yolisa Njamela doing a stunning job for us on the ground, live from Midrand in Gallagher.